Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Today I was asked a question about a group of grade 6 girls in a faith-based school in the West, that it was discovered that all of them, without exception, are involved in lesbian activities, bisexual activities. And when asked about it, they were quite proud to say that it is trending, this is hip, it's chic, it's cool. So there was a confusion. The person who shared this with me were confused. They themselves are a teacher. And I've shared some of my previous experiences as a teacher and a school principal, educational consultant, and the incidents, how many times it has happened in the past, even in Muslim countries. And they were shocked. So is lesbianism or bisexualism on the female side something more prevalent than homosexuality on the men's side? According to my experience and according to what I've studied and what I've seen traveling the world, personally, I believe it is. Now, I don't have actual statistics to prove it right now, but I will make a case and you can be the judge whether this makes sense or not. When it comes to it being hip or trendy, well, that's nothing new. When a man or a woman looks at two men being together, till today, of course, there's still a stigma. Most guys who are real guys will be like, "Oh, that is nasty." And most women will also say that that is very nasty, even though they're women. But if two women are together, most guys will say, "Wow, that is hot." And most women might say, that's pretty cute, or, I don't really have a problem with that. It doesn't look that bad as two guys. Two guys nasty. When we look at culture, especially Western culture, the taboo has mostly been towards men, because when two men are intimate together, of course, there's obviously intercourse, there's the loss of masculinity, and even in the fiqh, when you look at it, the hudud are different. As for women, back in the days anyway, when the ulama were discussing this, there was no penetration. So even the had was different, it's ta'zir, as opposed to the had that you have for liwath. So even there was a distinction. Now, when you look at today culture, and even before, past, it was not so taboo to have two women mess around. And obviously today, with the advent of Netflix, social media, girls have been hypersexualized so much. They compare so much. They measure so much. They're obsessed with each other's beauty characteristics, surgeries, the lack of confidence that they have, and that they have to be always following someone, wanting to be like someone, clinging, attaching to a certain model of female that they would want to be like. And that has caused so many problems when it comes to SSA. I would argue that it is much more possible for a woman to swing that way today, much more possible than for a man. Yes, it has always been that the focus was on men, and that may be because men were always at the focus of the world for past centuries. They're always the ones that start the wars, end the wars, whatever it is. So whenever men do something, it's always accentuated. But when a woman does something, it's either sensual, it's either exotic, or whatever. But it's not as bad as when a man does it. So there's this culture that has developed that, yeah, if two girls kiss, if they drink a little bit too much, all the guys will scream, it's so cool. Not to mention the explosion of lesbian pornography that has been, I can give you statistics on that. And that's where my argument will be. That the porn sites that have released the statistics, when you look at the genres of sex, you find that lesbian porn is one of the highest ones. And surprise, surprise, watched by who? None other than women. And even women who identify themselves as heterosexual. And there's tons of excuses and reasons for why they would do that. And they're available in interviews and so on, and social experiments. But in the end, it is a statistics. People say this is just out there to destroy the Muslims. Well, these statistics are worldwide, and they're not only targeted at Muslims. Yes, Muslim countries are involved in there. But these people are not out to necessarily attack Islam. They're out to destroy everyone, and they're first of all out to make money. So they care more about money than about whether you think that these statistics are conspiracy theories or not. In the end, of course, the outcomes of watching such things is a destruction for the man, for the woman, for the society. But the statistics stand, and they are facts. Every time you visit a website, you accept cookies, and these cookies will track you, and they'll track your activity, and they know exactly what you're watching, for how long you're watching, what is your gender, and so on. So these statistics show that women women watch more this genre of porn, meaning lesbian porn, 100 and something percent, 130 or something percent more than men would watch it who think that it's hot anyway. The question would be why? That is the subject of another discussion, deep discussion. But going back to female SSA, or female same-sex attraction, the reasons for it. Again, my argument is that women have to be more careful today because they have a higher tendency, and there's a higher incident rate of them falling into this sin, liking it. And I think even the more dangerous part of it is that they start making it an identity. They develop an identity, an allegiance to a movement, a comfort zone. And that's where sometimes there's no turning back. So this grade 6 phenomenon that has happened is not something that surprises me. I've dealt with such issues even younger than that, at grade 3, I remember, in a Muslim country. May Allah be my witness for that. Because people sometimes, they deny these things. They're oblivious. They think there's incident rates. This is isolated cases. No, they're not. And that's why I entitled this video as "It is trendy." It is trendy indeed. It's becoming more and more. Social media is pushing it. Netflix is pushing it. People are pushing it. And it seems that it's not a problem. And this new phenomenon has come out, what's called bi-curious. Interesting enough, I was talking to someone who has gone through this. And one of the interesting reasons, and I've always had the opinion that this is confusion for many, many women. It's not really SSA, it's confusion of identity and projection. And even for many men. Of course, the subject is very, very deep and needs to be touched from many, many different perspectives. So I recommend, for those who want to read, there's a great book called The Heart of Female Same-Sex Attraction. It's called The Comprehensive Counseling Resource. It's by Janelle Hellman, and it is available. Now, of course, in many of the countries, what's called conversion therapy has been outlawed. It's not allowed for a counselor to do conversion therapy to help someone who's suffering from SSA. It is unlawful. And the reasons for that are political. It has a long history of how this movement has gotten into affecting legislation. We can talk about this a different time. The fact remains that it does affect legislation, and a counselor or psychologist can lose their license if they counsel someone, even if those people want to, or give a disclaimer or a release form that they want to be counseled. It's not allowed. But I would suggest that you read this book so you can understand, because there's a lot and I cannot explain this, but we will try over other videos, inshallah, and discussions with professionals to get to the bottom of this. What needs to be understood and raised awareness of, that this is huge. It is a huge threat, and it is targeting women, and it is very easy for women to fall into SSA, much, much easier than men, and the incident rate worldwide is much, much higher, but it's not stigmatized and identified, hence it's not really being noticed by people like a big problem. And yes, it is huge in the Muslim communities, and it is huge in the non-Muslim communities. But one thing that I wanted to point out as to the confusion, because I believe it starts with a confusion and it can end up as an identity when people start, of course, in a very free and open world where you're encouraged to experiment anything you feel. And silence the voice of morality that might stop you from doing that, and condition yourself and choose an identity and a side and an allegiance to something. And of course, these days, with people having no allegiance and no purpose in life, joining a group that is so aggressive and so purposeful might be for some people equal to finding themselves and finding purpose in life, which is very hard to remove from someone. Last but not least, going to the confusion. One of my clients put it in very good words. A woman who has suffered from SSA. She said, when I first got attracted to women was when I started hating men. I've had 2 horrible marriages and I hated men. And because of that, I became attracted to certain women. But they said, what I noticed is that I was projecting myself or picking the type of woman that I wanted to be. If you look at media, if you look at the obsession with the female figure and beauty, hypersexualization, is done mostly by women themselves. They're always obsessed with checking another one's body, comparing, wanting to be like her, doing surgeries. So many plastic surgeries. Because of the insecurity. So he was saying that, well, it's like I was projecting myself onto the type of woman I wanted to be. Like, you understand? I was attracted to the type of woman that I wanted to look like as a female. But at the same time, I was behaving towards her the way I would want a man to behave with me. You understand? It's like a double-edged sword. So I'm attracted, or I'm projecting myself onto a woman that I would like to look like, but at the same time, I'm behaving in a manner that I would like someone to behave with me, i.e. a man. And alhamdulillah, the interesting thing is that there was a change again in the sexuality of this woman to go back to men when she realized and her morality kicked in and she was able to bounce back into heterosexualism. I believe that that is possible. And I believe that when it's not possible, there's no returning back, is when, of course, identity is drilled in and that forms, and a person has that allegiance and does not want to admit that they were wrong or that they can change, and they basically are on a slippery slope. But mark my words, there is far greater danger for women because of what's out there and the statistics of what women are looking at and the way their fitra is in much more danger to be comfortable with women, to get closer to women, and then to slip into that sin with women. As for, the details, there's so much that can be discussed, but that's what I wanted to say today to raise awareness about, and that this question came to me about this grade 6 class of girls who think that it is trendy to be lesbian or bisexual. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our women and our girls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.